Hello, this is Asha Saxena from Women Leaders in Data and AI. I'm super excited about being here at LinkedIn Live because I truly feel this is a platform where we can have a conversation with the audience and talk really about real issues. And when we were talking about LinkedIn Live and thinking about the topic we want to talk about, the first topic which I hear a lot from leaders all around the nation is, I'm a mid-manager. How do I climb the ladder to be the C-suite leader? And in our organization, we have the senior leaders who climb the ladder. And I looked at a dear friend of mine who's a senior leader, climbed the ladder, and has really a great insight. And when I thought about the very first guest for LinkedIn Live, I couldn't think of anybody better than Julia. Julia Bardmesser, welcome to the LinkedIn Live. I am so excited of having this conversation with you and having just a heart-to-heart, a real conversation with you about your career, my career, our journeys, and what hopefully we can leave behind and share with the world. So welcome.
Thank you, Asha. I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation with you. And this is something I've spent a lot of time thinking and talking to people about. And how do you help others? That's the biggest thing I think that you and I are really motivated at this point of our lives and our careers is how do we help others? And how do we help companies, not only people individually, but how do we scale and how can we help companies build that pipeline of diverse leadership?
Exactly. So just before we get started, we'll do a quick introduction. My name is Asha Saxena. I am the founder and CEO of Women Leaders in Data and AI. And my background, really, my academic background was undergrad and grad in computer science, and spent close to 30 years now in the industry, working with data analytics in consulting field. So really touched a lot of different companies, a lot of different programs, and also built teams and interacted with leaders. So my goal would be today to kind of share that experience. I've built 3 companies, consulting firm, data management consulting firm, e-commerce company, and a healthcare software company. And now I'm teaching at Columbia University. And I was a partner at a CEO coaching firm where I coached about 15 CEOs, where I took the companies to an exit, and that was the goal. But during the pandemic was a time when I really thought about the impact. What am I leaving behind? And I'm going to jump into that, as we continue. I'm going to pass it on to you, Julia. Do you want to share a quick introduction about yourself?
Thank you, Asha. So I'm Julia Bardmesser. I have an extensive experience as a digital transformation executive. I started out as a developer, technology engineer in then very small company called Bloomberg. And then I spent most of my career in the financial companies and eventually became a manager and then manager of managers and, moved on to more and more senior positions. And a lot of my work was around how do you drive companies to change? How do you create true value from the data analytics and technology capabilities? And that was before data analytics were fashionable. So it was a little bit more of an uphill battle back then to deal with data and analytics and get prioritization and funding and make the case. It's easier now, but one of my observations that it's never easy. It never becomes easy. And by the time it becomes easy, something else will come along and will do that. But it's still a very complex subject. And so in the corporation, so very different path from Asha. Because Asha created her own companies, and I've been in corporations for most of my life.
And I think that's the beauty, right, from both our journeys, because we can actually bring that different perspective on how and what a professional leader could have a career. And, when yesterday we were talking about data and how critical, and we both have spent our careers in data and thinking about how to really effectively use data. So my book came out it's coming out in February, but I got my copy last night. So Julia, when I see you, I have to give you my copy. The book is called The AI Factor. And in that, I really spend a lot of time thinking about how data can impact businesses. And I know you read a little pieces of it where I talk about Netflix and Starbucks and Domino's, how they use data to really create effective outcome for their businesses. But it really starts from data. Data is the fabric of building artificial intelligence. Without data, you can't have a good Web3 or good AI organization. So, and you've spent all your life in data. So I completely agree about the whole engineering piece. But before we talk about that, I just want to talk a little bit about if you're a senior leader and C-suite leader, and you're thinking about what next, I think, or at any level, I think, when you think about what my purpose is, or what the, if you can find your purpose, you become a better leader. And I tell you, during the pandemic, I was thinking, I was writing the book and I was speaking, and I landed up seeing this slide where it said only 18% of women are creating the world, digital or algorithms. And it was really disturbing because, the world we live in is built by men, and we are now so fast building the digital world, right? And only 18% of the women are participating. And I think this is really concerning. And so this organization was born, and you were instant spokesperson for this organization, because you said, I care about this cause. I care about having equality, and I care about promoting women. And you've promoted, I can't speak enough. You constantly keep referring women leaders, and you constantly keep promoting and pushing women leaders ahead. And when we started this organization, the goal was for the senior leaders to come together and really have a strong voice and really have the strong presence. And I think last couple of months, we've been talking about how we can really create this movement and make it bigger for the corporations. How do we create this, cause and make it happen? So I just want to get your feedback on just this cause, and how can we create a purpose around this?
I absolutely, Asha. And you're right, when you came with that idea of WLDA to me, and it was, it was May of 2020, and on top of just feeling very lonely and seeing everybody only on Zoom, and it just both was very lonely and very tiring all the time. And I love the idea, because in my career, especially in the financial services, till very recently, even before getting to executive level, even at the senior manager level, I was very often the only woman in the room. And not only I was the only woman in the room, I was also often, especially when I was still in Virginia and DC area, I was quite often the only person with an accent in the room. So that was fun as well. So of course, coming back to New York helps with that. Pretty much 40% of population here comes from someplace else. So that instantly, New York always made me feel like home. But it didn't relieve the other part as of being the only woman in the room. And it's gotten better. So as I moved on into Deutsche Bank, and Voy especially is very good around promoting women leaders. But still, what you get is not a lot of people in your immediate network where you can talk and have a really open conversation about what it's like, and how do you make your voice heard, and how do you deal with different dynamics in the meetings, and how do you advocate for yourself. So one of the things I had to learn in my career, I come from Soviet Union and from kind of Russian intelligentsia tradition, where asking for things for yourself was frowned upon. You couldn't promote yourself. Self-promotion was something that was really not done. You had to wait for others to notice you. You had to wait for others to promote you. You couldn't ask. You couldn't speak to your success. So I had to change that. It took me probably about 15 years to figure out that I actually should talk about my accomplishments and not wait for others to notice. So and it's not just, that culture. In many cultures are like that. And women are always often brought up, socialized in a way that you do not talk about your accomplishments. So I try to help that. And that's where WLDA and this whole notion of mastermind circle, where you have a group of women that you get to know really well. And it's completely confidential. So you can share pretty much anything that you want to share that's going on with your life. And I know different circles, we have circles that talk a lot around career related challenges, and there's circles that talk about family challenges, but it's all completely confidential. It cannot be repeated anywhere. Like Asha and I cannot discuss what's happening in the circle because it's within the circle itself. There is this confidentiality imperative, but that makes it much easier to be vulnerable, because that's another thing, you learn to never be vulnerable. I remember, when I was going through something really difficult in personal life, and I cried in front of the boss of my boss. Not because of that, it's just something else, and it triggered, and I couldn't keep my tears away. And while A, he was deeply uncomfortable, B, that ended my career in that company. I was never promoted again. It just, I could see how the view of me have changed. So that ability to be vulnerable is something that is incredibly precious. And that mastermind circle, not that we cry a lot, but this ability to make yourself vulnerable and talk about all of the things that make you doubt yourself and what you question about yourself, and just ask for open and honest advice and experience share. It's not even advice, it's you talk about how you came through something similar, and what worked for you and what didn't work, and what was successful and was not successful. And it's a brutally honest conversation, and it creates both the sense of community, and also this clarifies your mind around what kind of choices you can make in life. What is your purpose in life? What do you do things for? So I find that it's been now, almost 3 years, right? It's going to be in May. It's going to be 3 years, Asha, since we've
Yes, I
started
can't believe
this.
that. Yes.
Yeah, that just helped me a great deal, and just changed and created that community of friends. So
Exactly.
I know I can talk about it for a really long
Listen,
time.
I know.
Stop me, because
I know. Listen, as you're saying, there's so many pieces I can relate with. I can relate with when you say being the only woman in the room. I can relate with I know growing up, we never really thought that we can walk in and think that we are women. I always walked into a room and said, I'm equal. I had to train myself and not look at myself as a minority. I walked in the room and I said, what value can I bring? And it was so important for me that I walk in with a value instead of just thinking, am I a minority? And have my voice heard. Listen, is it every single time my voice is heard? Probably not, right? And what do you do? How do you continue standing up when you get knocked down and say, it's okay, I'm going to get up and run again? And a lot of times people only see when you're running fast. They don't see how many times you've fallen down before you run. But I think a lot of us who are women, who are minority, and I'm sure a lot of men probably have gone through this career struggles also, where when you're not heard or when you're not getting what you want, how do you navigate that? When you were talking about, crying in front of your boss, listen, we all have had that emotion, right? When we are having a hard day and we don't know how to stop. And what I was taught, or what I learned, was that control your emotion, know how to communicate very effectively, keep a strong mindset. And listen, it doesn't come day one, it doesn't come day two.
Yeah.
If people who are listening are mid managers, you might be struggling with, how do I navigate my emotion? How do I navigate, or learn to communicate effectively as I'm climbing the ladder? All that comes with time. It doesn't come natural. And that's why I think organizations who are actually partnering with WLDA and run their corporate circle program with us, what they're providing for their mid-manager is this place where they can be vulnerable, because they can't be vulnerable in a corporate professional settings with their managers or their peers or their employees or their teams. Circle is a safe place where it's confidential, there's no judgment, there is, you coming to the place where you're not asking for something, you're paying forward. And that's where you actually can be vulnerable. And we've seen that organizations who actually have partnered with us and have implemented circles, the retention is much higher with those people who are in the circle.
Yeah.
Because they have an outlet.
Yeah, and one thing, Sasha, that you said it's triggered a thought in my head. It's not just for the experience. There is always, you also need some kind of training. You need
Yes.
education. You can't just, I mean, it speeds up things so much. I was just recently had a conversation with somebody who is much more junior, and she is struggling a little bit with her manager. And I've asked, does your manager have any type of managerial training? And she said, I don't think so. I'm like, well, and I had that conversation also like over the holidays in Morocco, of all places, with my friends. And being a manager, being able to develop and manage people, it's a skill. You have to learn. It's a profession. You have to learn how you work with people. You have to learn how you delegate. You have to learn how you inspire people. All of this, there are very good courses around that. There are a lot of people with experience, but companies especially need to put something in place for people to learn, because it doesn't come naturally to most of us. Like I had to learn a lot. There is a notion difference IQ versus EQ.
Yes.
And, at this point, when I say that naturally my EQ is very low, people look at me like, no, but you listen so well. I'm like, yeah, I had to learn. It took me 10 years of a lot of courses. I was starting in Freddie Mac when I just first became manager, all the way through. I mean, the last in-person courses were in Deutsche Bank, which actually did an excellent job. And they did a lot of training, bringing people from outside and actors acting through different scenarios. That was incredibly helpful. And so that's one of the things I think retention and developing of a pipeline is bringing that level of training. And I think Mastermind, in addition to the classes that are available, and there are tons of classes out there, of course, and some of them are great, some of them may not be so much, and a lot of programs around women leadership as well. But I think Mastermind Circle, what Wilda brings to bear, is a somewhat unique concept that allows that total confidentiality and experience share, and bringing very senior women into the conversation who can pay forward.
Right, exactly. And you know what? If anybody's interested in learning about what Build a Circle is at work, happy to talk about that. But I also think that, as we were talking about Circle, there's also about what you mentioned about was the branding piece, which I feel like it's so important. People don't talk about it. A lot of women, a lot of leaders are so working in day to day that they forget promote themselves. And I think it's such an important skill to talk. It's not that you're bragging. It's people are so focused on being humble that they forget to talk about what they've accomplished. And I love the fact I was introducing somebody, or when I ask you to introduce yourself, you'll only talk a little bit about yourself. You'll never, like you've been the top 100 women listed several times. You didn't mention that, right? So all I'm saying is that even now, right? So
yes, even now it's difficult for me. I know it's a lot, and yes, I overcame. And I think hopefully when I interview for a job, I do a better job of it.
Exactly.
But in this conversation with you, I am like, okay, let's move to the meat of the conversation. You're absolutely right, Asha.
Yeah, right. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You don't talk, and it's not about bragging, right? You're just stating fact. It was the fact that you were the winner of the award last year for the WLDA, AI leader.
Yes.
And
yes.
But so these are the facts, but you wouldn't say it unless somebody else says it, and you blush then. Even at that time,
I
right?
blush really easily. That's one of the things.
Yes.
I blush. It doesn't take a lot to get me to blush, but
what I'm trying to say is that, and that's what a lot of women leaders do. They don't talk about themselves, and they don't talk about. And so and with your help, we launched the media package. And what we are doing is now promoting women leaders in LinkedIn and in conferences. We're trying to make sure that there are enough women seen on the panels, so there is role models. It's important that the women are seen. We are now trying to get them published so that there are more women who are writing their thoughts and opinions about data, especially the science topics. And the more we can do to make sure that these women leaders are seen and their views and opinions are heard, we are trying to make the world a better place. And I think there are so many male allies who are with us and they want to promote that. They are happy to have intelligent women around so that we can create the world. So I think it's a common purpose and common theme for sure.
Absolutely. And, I want to speak a little bit about the conferences. Speaking of male allies, I had to be pushed into that because I thought, like, what do I have to say that anybody wants to hear? And then I was sort of like, don't worry about it. Just go and talk on the panel. You have so much to add. And I started, and for me, actually, being on a panel is somewhat of a hack. I'm not really good at networking when I don't know people. So for me to break into somebody's conversation when, there is a cocktail hour and people are holding the glasses of wine and there is a conversation, for me to break into something, it's really hard. But if I go to a conference and I speak, then people want to come and talk to me. So for me, it's a little bit of a hack because I don't mind public speaking and I encourage everybody to take a public speaking class. There is so much. I've heard that the Toastmasters are wonderful. A lot of companies sponsor public speaking classes. Just go take it, especially speaking on a panel. It's easy and than doing keynote presentation, for example, especially if it's in person type of event. I find panels, Zoom panels or Zoom keynotes a little harder because you don't have the feedback from the audience, but still, eventually, first time I did it, I was awful. I was on a webinar and I think the guy never asked me to come again because I didn't keep to the time. So I've learned, I got better. Speaking on the panel, speaking at the conferences, being out there, never think that you don't have much to add. There is absolutely lots to add. And I think that's one of the things that we've done really well in WLDA because we always publish all the opportunities and try to get people to come over and join the panels and have the keynote speakers. Like we have Dara, who is a wonderful speaker. I always so much enjoy listening to her speak. And Asha, of course, you're wonderful.
You're so
Every time I
sweet,
listen to you, you and I talk quite a bit, as probably people can tell from our conversation. But every time I listen to you speak at the event, I learn something.
And I have to tell you, we just did a WLDA speaker series with KPMG, and we had Ellen and Karen, and we scored 83% NPS score, which is like world class. Like the good score is 50, and we were 83 NPS. And so it was amazing. Yeah, we got a great feedback. And so, I think every woman in our organization, the senior leaders, are fabulous, and they have fabulous stories. And the speaker series which we run is amazing because I think every organization needs role model. They need to show that there are senior women leaders who are inspiring the younger women. And I think that's what KPMG was doing, is to have the senior leaders come as speakers so the mid managers can see. We had, I think, close to 400 people who attended, which was unbelievable. Unbelievable. An internal team, it was an internal team, which was really fabulous. So I think the speaker series has been really phenomenal because we get to showcase senior leader as role models, which I think is great. I want to move, just quickly have a shift around data, in which we've been talking about. I loved your idea about the advisory because I was talking to somebody this morning about it, and I was saying that, we have women leaders who are in transition. And the advisory, which you're heading, the Technology Advisory Council, which you're heading, is such a great offering because when an organization is building or is working with a vendor and they want to have somebody else outsider to come and just validate if a roadmap, the right roadmap, is that the right direction? Is it the right data strategy? Is it the right architecture? They can always come to our Technology Advisory Council because we have seasoned advisors who are going in and walking. So can you I know you've been developing some frameworks. Can you talk a little bit about why this would be helpful to corporations?
I think a lot of corporations, from what I have seen, struggle with business data strategy. So there is overall agreement. I don't think you will find any business leader anywhere that would say that that data and analytics is a driving force for growth of the company. but where we have a breakdown, and from the technology perspective, so you have companies that nominate and bring chief data officers in and create the data teams. And we have a really good discipline and information education around what do you do as a chief data officer and how do you create data management capabilities. Where I see a lot of breakdown is how does business strategy gets informed by data management capabilities. What do company need to do in their other technology and operation and even product management spend to take full advantage of data capabilities that their CDOs are building? And some companies don't have CDOs, so that's even more applicable to them. So one of the frameworks that I've been building is the tying in of the business growth imperative. Something like we want to get more customers. We want to bring more customers to our product. You know, for you and me, the moment you hear more customers, you immediately think, oh, you need master data management, right? I mean, I immediately go, oh, we want to cross-sell. You tell me, oh, I want to cross-sell a product. I say, well, you need master data management. But for most business people who haven't been doing this for 30 years, it's not obvious. And master data management is actually a very complex topic and requires a lot of business-driven or business-led participation. So that's where we can help. That framework of how do you tie your technology, your growth, business growth goals, be it growing customers, growing product adoption, or creating excellence in operations, so decreasing, improving on your margins. All of that is very important for the health of the company. What do you need to do across everything? Not only what do your data team need to do, because
Right.
data team generally know what they need to do. It's what are the technology teams that are supporting your front office? What are your marketing team needs to do? What does your operation teams need to do? Why paying attention to quality of the data up front gives you enormous payoff at the end.
Right.
Because sometimes it sounds like, oh, I'm going to spend what, half $500,000 making sure my country code is correct. Like, why? But
Right.
then being able to tie that, actually that will give you outsize impact on to move into a new cross market or cross geographical market ability to sell, as an example. So that's something that the frameworks that we are putting in place, where we can help companies of different sizes of building that business data strategy and making sure that all the investments they have done in their data management team, data science teams, AI teams, they fully realize it, and it really revolutionizes their business. You know, Asha, what you're talking about in your book, a factor, right, is
Yes.
how AI analytics and data can bring your business to a completely new level.
You know, exactly, that's what I talk about. So the book, the AI Factor, first of all, that's available on Amazon. What I talk about is the power coordinate, like really know where you are today. Understand where your business is today. You could be saying, you know what, I want to use data to just be an optimizer. I want to know how to cut the cost, be an optimizer. Or I want to be innovator. I want to start launching new products. Or I can be an extender where I want to capture more market share. Or I want to use the data to completely change my business model. Harrods casinos use that. Domino's said, I'm going to change my business model and really focus on my customer. Netflix did that. They said, I'm going to even go deeper and understand what my customer wants before they know what they want, right? So we've seen those examples over and over again. And then the second step I talk about is really the data readiness, which you kind of touched upon, is that really knowing what your organization maturity is. You know, I talk about your learn about your organization maturity and your internal competence. You know, and I start with talking about your what is a clear strategic objective? Do you have executive buy-in? Do you have senior leaders who have the buy-in? Do you have the alignment of the business goals? Do you understand how it's going to impact your financial goals? And can you create an impact on operational efficiency? And then data management is the key, because if you don't have the data management layer defined and strong, you won't be able to actually do and create the application. You need to have data accessibility, security, quality. You need to have trust in your data, and governance. Who owns the data and how the data is defined, as you said. And I think those are the key elements to before you get people engaged, before you say, oh, what is the usage or what's the data literacy, What is my company
Mm.
culture? Or is my entire organization engaged or not? And then whatever
Exactly.
you build, right? Whatever you build, it has to be scalable, repeatable, adaptable.
Exactly, Asha. But one of the interesting things that I've noticed, so I've used Netflix as an example quite a bit in my previous job. What I find is that people nod and they kind of understand how Netflix did it, but it doesn't really resonate with, let's say, financial services business. So what does investment management or asset management, what does it have to do with Netflix? Netflix is, it's a video streaming or content. So one of the things, if I can bring back to my idea behind technology advisory council for WLDA, is that we do have people from multiple industries. So not only you do your Netflix example with just, but you can talk about specifically for the industry you're in. How does data analytics, AI, data science empower growth, and walk through that data strategy together. So it's not, we're not big consulting company. We're not going to come in with tons of decks. It's all experience on the ground, having built this, and how do we advise you so you can actually scale. And I think there is a lot of that, a lot of value that we can bring in on that. So I think we have real world life problems with internet so I actually, I've been having internet connections issues for the past months or so, and I'm trying to fix it. So right now, when I froze, I wasn't sure whether that's me or Asha, and apparently it's Asha. So Asha, welcome back. I was like, okay, I'm just waiting. Anyway, so
Yeah, I'm
Asha,
back.
welcome back. I was going to say in the beginning that we might get a real world work from home on home internet problem of me freezing, but it was you who froze.
I don't know how that happened. I was expecting, and I land up saying, it must be Julia who froze. And I just sat there until I got
Yes.
disconnected.
Yeah. Oh,
But listen,
well, real life, it's okay. At least we didn't have, I've had times when I was actually given a keynote, and in the middle of keynote, I get grocery delivery 1 hour earlier.
oh my God,
So,
oh,
like,
that's
what are
too
you gonna
funny.
do?
That's
Yeah, what
too
are you gonna
funny.
do? So,
But listen, I think we had such a great conversation around leadership in general, climbing the C-suite ladder, really learning about um, yourself as you grow the ladder. Make sure that you learn about yourself. You learn what you're good at, what you're not good at.
I don't know if it's
Learn.
again Asha, but it's oh, go ahead. I thought I froze for a bit, so now it's me. Please go
Oh, okay,
ahead.
good, good.
Yeah,
So
yes.
I think as we come to a close, let's do a quick recap. What did we learn from our discussion? For me, I think it's really what I learned through my career journey, Julia, was really learn about yourself and invest in yourself. Learn what you're good at, what you're not good at. Stay in the place where you're strong at. Learn about people, build people, think big, and make sure that you're creating an impact as you're delivering value. What would be your couple of your thoughts and learnings as a summary?
It just, but humility is overrated. So don't be shy. And I know it's a lesson I have to learn over and over again, is don't hesitate to talk about your accomplishments. They're real, they're there. And again, it's the value of community and the value of a circle of friendship and circle of support for everyone at any level of seniority or where we are in life. It's really important when you're just starting on the journey. It's really important for me now as I'm figuring out what am I doing next. It's really important for you, Asha, and you've achieved so much. And still,
It feels like,
so
yeah,
the value of support and value of a circle of people who understand where you are and can share their own experience and will share and will give of themselves and of their time and of their brain power to help you and to share and to lift. And when you do it mutually, it creates enormous just benefits in life. It's not only career, it's also in life, feeling supported. It's something that, you know, when we exit the circle, we talk about how do we feel, and that feeling of support is the prevalent feeling.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julia, for being here with me, having this conversation. I can keep on going, having this conversation with you. But what a lovely time. I would say everybody who's listening, if you haven't invested in building your community, do go ahead and build your community, build yourself. We say at WLDA, community growth and impact is the key to learning and growing to the next level. So be hungry for knowledge, be hungry for growth, and stay curious. If you're interested in learning more about women leaders in data and AI, which is WLDA, feel free to reach out to me. You can always send me a LinkedIn message. Anything we spoke about, circles, speaker series, or advisory, feel free to reach out to me about that and learn about that. We are always hosting events where we can invite maybe the public to attend and have conversation with us. LinkedIn Live is a great way to start engaging with us. Feel free to send me a quick message. We'll see you next time. Our next event is on February 14th with Sandy Carter. She just came back from
I saw a picture of her in Davos. Yeah.
Yes, she just came back from Davos, and she will be here next week on February 14th, not on Friday at 12 p.m. It's February 14th. I don't think it's a Friday. I think February 14th is a Thursday.
Yeah, you're gonna have Valentine's Day with her?
Or Tuesday. Yeah. Oh my God, Valentine's Day. It's a Tuesday, February 14th, at 12 p.m. And you know, my book is coming out on Valentine's Day, so it'll be a great celebration.
You should have a party. Asha,
I should have a party. Oh my God, we need to do a book launch party. So
yeah, exactly. You should do what book, but I highly recommend for everybody to come in and listen to Sandy's conversation with Sandy. I always find her like, she's mind-opening. There's so many things I've learned just listening to her. And, you know, I've been active in Web3, but just listening to her takes it to the whole new level.
Exactly. And I'm really looking forward to that. Dial in on February 14th, Tuesday at 12 noon. I'm sure you can take a little break during your lunch hour. Come hang out with us, send your questions during the thing. And we'll see you next week. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you.
I'll see you
Thank
then.
you, Asha. Bye.
Bye-bye.